What's up, everyone? Welcome back to more Reddit stories about entitled people, crazy people, and anything else we find interesting. As usual, we got some more Reddit posts to check out today, so be sure to share your thoughts about today's stories down in the comments, and we're getting right into it. I, 31 male, let myself into the apartment next to my girlfriend's, 34, to prevent a fire. She is mad I filed a police report about it. This weekend, I was staying over at my girlfriend's apartment. It is a single house split into 2 apartments. Around 8 a.m., I smelled bacon and went downstairs to see if she was cooking some. She had just bought a quarter pig from a local farmer, so I was really hoping this was some of the bacon. Sadly, it wasn't, and must have been the adjoining apartment next door. About 11, we hear an alarm going off next door and don't think much of it. The neighbor, 20s male, is always around odd hours and staying up late, so my girlfriend and I just thought it was him sleeping through his alarm clock. Shortly after this, I got up to do some laundry and smelled smoke. I realized the alarm is not an alarm clock, but the smoke detector going off for the last 5 to 10 minutes. I immediately ran around the house to the side door leading to the other apartment to see if I could get in. Through the window, I could see smoke and also someone in the other room passed out on the couch. I tried banging on the door to wake the neighbor, but he didn't budge. I am a locksmith and had my picks on me, so I tried picking the door, but could not get it quick, so I ran to the front door and thankfully it was unlocked. I walked inside, ignored the neighbor on the couch, and followed the smoke. Turns out the bacon I had smelled at 8 a.m. along with the giant omelet were both on the stove, 3 hours later, burning. I turned off both burners, took care of the burnt food, and then went to check on the neighbor. The neighbor was out. It was clear this was either alcohol or drug related, but he was otherwise okay. I let him be and went back to my girlfriend's apartment. The neighbor woke up 15 minutes later and we could hear him moving around just fine. He never came over to say thank you. The part where this gets messy, since I'm a locksmith, I know what I just did could be considered breaking and entering / trespassing. I am pretty sure this would be covered by Good Samaritan laws, but I wanted to avoid having it become a problem. It would be very hard to keep my job as a locksmith if I had either of those charges on my record. Later that day, I left my girlfriend's and filed a police report to cover my ass, just in case. Last night, I was at the brewery with my girlfriend and she had planned to drive us back to her place where my vehicle was. I had been drinking enough where I was not going to drive. I told her about filing the police report and she immediately got visibly upset and left the brewery without me shortly after. I ended up having to take a cab home and one back to my vehicle at her place this morning. My girlfriend is now telling me we need to have a talk tonight and is otherwise giving me the cold shoulder. I can only assume she is upset that I filed the police report and the neighbor or landlord might get upset. And in the update after this, OP says, "Wow, so we just broke up. We talked for about 15 minutes on the phone and she accused me of not taking her feelings into account. Since someone asked, we started dating on and off last summer and finally became a couple at Thanksgiving. Here's the bombshell I mentioned might be coming in the comments. We are scheduled to leave on an already paid-for vacation to the Caribbean for a week together in just over 2 weeks. We talked briefly about it on the phone and decided it would be best if we gave each other some time and didn't talk about it just yet." A commenter says she didn't want to be with you anymore and this was the excuse. OP responds, "Considering the conversation I just had with her, I am inclined to agree with you." OP also says the conversation went like this. Her, "You don't respect my feelings and I'm done." At which point, I talked to her for the remaining 14.5 minutes about why she would get that impression, and trying to explain that my actions were not meant to be selfish. There was a little bit of back and forth during that time, but her argument felt to me like it had too many holes in it to be everything, and like many other people said, I think she was just looking for a way out. And in the next update, OP says, "Since we broke up, we haven't talked much but agreed to talk about how we are going to handle the Caribbean vacation tomorrow. That won't be happening, it looks like. Tonight I get an email that she canceled my flight. I started doing some digging and was able to find out that she is now going on the vacation with her ex-fiancé. You guys called it, there was more going on. I am cutting all contact with her so I can have a clean break and move on to the next part of my life." There really is just such a cowardly way to try to end a relationship. Even if the real reason is something like wanting to get back with your ex, then just come out and say it, instead of just trying to come up with some kind of pathetically weak excuse. It's actually funny the lengths some people will go to just avoid being honest. An office lunch thief ate my spicy leftovers and is accusing me of poisoning them. We have a fridge at work. Up to this point, nothing I had in it was stolen. I am quite new, and others have told me this was a problem. My food is always really, really spicy. I just love it that way. Anyway, I was sitting at my desk when my coworker came running out, having a hard time breathing. He then ran into the bathroom and started being sick. Turns out he ate my clearly labeled lunch. It was also in a cooler lunchbox to keep it cold from work to home, as it's a long drive. There was nothing different about my lunch that day. In fact, it was just the leftovers from my dinner the night before. Fast forward a day and my boss comes in asking if I tried to poison this person. Of course, I denied that I had done so. I even took out my current day's lunch and let my boss taste it a bit. He was blown away by how spicy it was, even though he only took a small bite. I then proceeded to eat several spoonfuls to prove I could eat it with no problem. He said not to worry and that it was clear to him that I didn't mean any harm. My coworker shouldn't have been eating my food, etc., etc. I thought the issue was over. A week later, I got called up to HR for an investigation, claiming that I did in fact try to do harm to this person and this investigation is still ongoing. What confuses me is there was nothing said about this guy trying to steal my lunch. When I brought it up, they said something along the lines of, "We cannot prove he stole anything." I am confused at this. I thought the proof would be clear. My boss is on my side, but HR seems to be trying to string me up. Their behavior is quite aggressive. Even if my boss backs me up, they just ignore everything he says. As in, he would say that's clearly not the case, and the HR lady wouldn't even look in his direction and continue talking. On top of this, HR claims that it would be well within said coworker's rights to try and sue me. The way it was said seemed to suggest that they suggested this to him as a course of action. How can someone be caught stealing my lunch and then turn around and say I was in the wrong? I don't understand it at all. I don't know what to do. I'm afraid that I will lose my job over this. Is there any advice you can give me? And the update was posted about 3 months later. I ended up being fired by HR, as she said there was enough of a case to get rid of me before the top boss came back. I consulted a lawyer who sent a letter to the company informing them that I was considering legal action. The letter contained the reasons for doing so and an account of what happened. 1 week later, I got a call from the guy who owns the company asking me to come back, with an apology. Both the HR woman and the thief have been, quote, let go. He also gave me a very generous raise. I assumed to gloss everything over. I accepted and am now back at work. As much as I hate to go based on office talk, it seemed that the HR woman and the food thief may have been romantically involved. They were seen a lot outside work together, etc. So I assume it was her protecting him. She may have even believed him and thought I was trying to frame him or something. Who knows? I doubt I will get an answer now. Right now I'm working in the previous position with almost double my paycheck, so it's a great turnaround. The boss also opened more doors for me, offering different training courses that I'll be paid for. It's obviously to keep me happy and stop me from taking any legal action, but what more could I ask for? Something unreasonable happened and it's been more than corrected. I'd have been happy with just having my job back. I'd rather have not gone through the whole thing at all though. I just hope I never have to experience this kind of thing again. I don't really have a support group, so was on the edge of losing my apartment, etc. Anyway, thanks for the advice. I had nowhere to turn. My mother-in-law suddenly passed away in a car accident last month. At the same time, my stalker disappeared. My mother-in-law and I never had a good relationship. She has tried to sabotage my relationship with my husband since the day she met me. I wasn't good enough for her handsome and successful boy. I contemplated ending my relationship several times, but my husband always showed that he is on my side, and I love him. A few years ago, I started getting very threatening and scary emails and texts from a Pax. And apparently a Pax in this context just means a person, as pointed out by some commenters. This Pax knew everything about me. It didn't matter how many emails or phone numbers I changed, they or he always found me. I made several reports, but nothing happened. My husband tried everything to trace the emails. Nothing came out of it. This past year, I basically never left the apartment alone. I haven't received a single threatening text or email from Pax in a month. Ever since the mother-in-law passed away is what I'm assuming OP means here. After a few days, I wasn't surprised. Felt like I always knew it was mother-in-law deep down. My husband hasn't reacted yet. He's consumed with his grief, and I don't want to bother him. Especially when he bitterly told me, "You must be very pleased now," when we heard the news and I tried to comfort him. He apologized later and said he was just feeling guilty that he loved and chose me more than he loved her. Now I'm waiting for him to connect the dots. Will he get it? If he does, will he talk to me about it? I don't know if I ever will bring it up to him. Also, I won't relax and go back to my normal life just yet, but I know it in my heart that it's over and I can't be happier about my life. And moving on to the update, OP says, "Hi, I was here maybe a month ago talking about me suspecting that my mother-in-law was my stalker who tormented me for years. I was trying to get advice about whether or not to tell my husband who was mourning her. I decided to wait a little, but after venting here, I was sure that she was my stalker. I started living like I never did before, with 10-minute walks alone, then 15, then half hour, and so on. At first, my husband didn't notice my freedom, or maybe he did, but was processing it himself. Last Friday, I told him I was going out with the girls. Alone? Yes. Want me to drive you there? No need. Are you not afraid anymore? No, my stalker won't bother me again. He kissed me and wished me a nice evening. When I came home around midnight, he was still up. He said that he wanted to talk to me. He asked me, 'Was my mother your stalker?' Yes. He broke down crying. He said he has always suspected her and even talked to her a couple of times about it, and she made him so guilty by accusing him of being my simp. Sorry, I don't know a better word for it. He said he noticed how I, after so many years of fear and anxiety, stopped eventually crying in my sleep, and he has noticed that I haven't woken him up for a month now. I actually don't remember half the time I woke him up in terror, but he always told me and my therapist about it whenever it happened. He apologized for never discussing it with me and never protected me from his family, even though he had suspicions. Honestly, I am not even mad or disappointed. If the police couldn't help me, I don't know how much my husband could have done, and I just want to move on and leave this behind. We are going to start couples therapy, and my husband is planning to tell his family that mother-in-law was my stalker. He is adamant about it, and honestly, I think it's a good idea. My husband has also decided not to attend the headstone setting on my mother-in-law's grave. Alright guys, that's going to be it for today. Thank you for watching, I appreciate it. Be sure to drop a like on the video if you enjoyed, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already for more Reddit content like this. So I'm out of here, stay tuned for more, and I'll see you next time.